Shalom. Yahweh's grace and peace to each and every one of you. I am making this video because a lot of people have asked why I even have an interest as a woman in polygamy, and I just wanted to give you an answer. I'm just going to call this my journey into polygyny video. So when my first child was born, before she was born, we had a baby shower and all my friends came over. A homeboy of mine was there and he had a baby's mom who was dating a girl. Now, don't get me wrong. This story has nothing to do with lesbianism. I am 150% straight. So let me just put that out there. I'm straight. But his baby's mom had a girlfriend. They were lesbians. And we just asked how she was doing. And he said fine. And he expressed that his baby's mom and her girlfriend were going to be his wives. Now, that never panned out or whatever. But we were mad. We were like, how are you going to marry her when, you know, she's already got a girlfriend? And he was like, well, and then how are you going to have two women and say that they're both your wives or whatever? And he was like, well, scripture doesn't speak against a man having more than one wife. And I went off. And all of us were very upset with him. And we yelled at him and kind of offended him and all this kind of stuff. So I started out on this journey with the intent to prove old boy wrong. Okay? So I went through great lengths studying and looking to see what he was talking about in scripture, because I just knew that somewhere in scripture, somewhere in there, it had to say that a man could only have one wife. Well, after a few weeks of... You want to do Barney? Okay, just give me a second, okay? Put those down. Put those down. Click on another letter, okay? Click on another letter. Yes. Click on letter Z and tell me about the letter Z. Okay? No, click on it. Letter Z, like zebra. Okay? Click on it and you tell me about it. Alright, so a couple of weeks went through and I studied. I couldn't find anything expressly saying that a man could only have one wife. I saw things that seemed to indicate. I saw things that might imply, but then again, I also found the same thing for polygamy, things that would indicate and might imply that a man could have more than one wife. So, all right, I was shut down at that point. So I went looking around the internet and found a lot of articles, some of them anti-polygamy and pointing out scripture, using scripture, and I felt like their arguments were really weak. And as a person who likes to argue and debate, that was, you know, it was obvious to me. It's like, yeah, well, I can't really use that as my argument because the argument is weak. So, all right, I started looking for pro-poly arguments just to see if I could argue against them. And really, the really strong ones that I found, I could not argue against. And I'll give you the website to the one that really just, you know, kind of blew my mind and had me say, okay, all right, Yahweh does not have a problem with a man having more than one wife. And I constantly quote from this website. It is www.biblicalpolygamy.com. All right. So my argument was just ruined. It was just over at that point. I got to reading about sister wives, and I ended up getting to see a documentary called Sister Wives. It's a documentary. It takes place in Dimona, Israel, with a Hebrew Israelite family under Ben Ami, and the husband and wife have been together, I want to say like 20 years, and now he was about to take another wife. And so they chose a woman, they courted her and everything, and I watched it. It was very informative, and I listened to the reason why these women wanted another wife in their family, because the women wanted second wives. And I did the same thing with FLDS, and I found a couple of pro-poly examples through FLDS, not many. and I don't agree with FLDS, but and I don't agree with the way they do it in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But I did find some positive stories in there, and it was just very interesting and refreshing to see such a level of loyalty and sisterhood amongst women, which in our current modern society we don't really have a lot of. So it was refreshing to me, and it was shocking. Now, you're talking about a person, I have had the same best friends since I was 3 years old, and I'm very close to my mother, and I'm very close to my sister. So I realized that in my own household there was a lack, because all of my friends, the majority of my friends with the exception of one, are married women. My sister is engaged. My mother is obviously married. The one friend of mine who is not married, she's very busy. She's very corporate, you know, so she's very busy. I don't have access to these women the way I used to when I was single. You know, we can't hang out all the time. We can't stay at the house and talk all night, you know. I don't club the way I used to club or whatever. I'm a homebody now. And since they're all married and busy, we can't really, you know, talk about our men to the extent that we used to. And so I miss that. And so that's why I'm like, well, okay, I would like to have a woman around all the time. I would like to have a woman around the house who knows me just like my best friends know me. Obviously even more than my friends know me. I would like somebody to share the cooking with, share the grocery shopping with, share the cleaning with, share the taking care of the children and all that kind of stuff, and just be really close with each other in a sister-like way. And so I saw the benefits of polygamy. So I introduced it to my husband. I told him, you know, I mean, he was with me the entire way on this journey. It's just that, you know, he just found it all interesting. He wasn't really into the idea of it. So I told him that that was something I thought that I might like to do. And at first he was like, no, absolutely not. And the reasons he gave was because in polygamy, you have to deal with, you're already in a relationship, period. You're already having to deal with being responsible for that other person. And you're having to care for that other person and make sure that that other person has what they need on all levels, emotionally, sexually, financially, all this kind of stuff. We have to be responsible for each other. He didn't feel the need or the want to have to be responsible for yet another person and possibly any children that come out of that relationship. He didn't want that. It seemed like a big job, and you know, the extra sex is not worth it to him. And he still pretty much feels that way even now. And besides, he and I are very intellectual, very analytic or analytical, depending on which word you want to use. The jury's still out on which one is the proper word to use. We're very analytic. We're very intellectual. I read a lot. We talk a lot. We study a lot together. And we research a lot of things. It doesn't seem like the women in our general area, doesn't seem like they do the same thing. Also, we are a fit couple physically. So it doesn't seem like the women in our area are into that kind of stuff either. So, and plus we're Hebrew, and there are no Hebrews in our area. If you're out there, you know, I like to say what's up to you, but we don't see any Hebrews in our area. So, you know, he was like, I really don't think, if I did find somebody, I don't think I could find her from this pool of women, this city's group of women. All right, that's understood. You know, so we just keep an eye out on women that we feel Yah is sending towards us, and that's basically, that is the beginning of our journey into polygamy up until, I want to say, about 6 months ago, when we got in a little deep. So that's the end of this video, because my baby, Ariel, is fussing and ready to get out of his seat, and I gotta finish having school with Aaron. So, hush, I'm coming, hush. So, Yahweh's grace and peace upon you and your household. The next video will be about part 2 of our journey, and then we will do part 3 about where me and my husband are in this matter now. So, shalom, peace.